All right, what's going on, guys? Trev back again, here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing my full spoiler-included review for Avengers Endgame. Alright, now that was a good one. So in this one, we'll be doing our spoiler version now review for Avengers Endgame, for those of you who have already seen the movie. If you have not seen the movie yet and you don't want any spoilers, I did a non-spoiler review, which you can watch right now on the channel. Just click the channel name below and then click the non-spoiler one if you don't want to hear any spoilers. But if you don't care and you just kind of want to find out what happened and have me spoil it for you through describing, then fine, we can do that too. Whatever you want. This is a spoiler version. This is a spoiler review. Okay, so, oh man, quite the experience with Avengers Endgame. I had to look back. After I watched this movie and I got back, I quickly looked online to find out which year it was when the MCU actually kicked off. And really, the first MCU movie was Iron Man, 2008, 11 years ago, Iron Man. So that to me, and just how much I love the character, how much I love Robert Downey Jr.'s Tony Stark, Iron Man in the MCU in the Marvel Universe cinematic version. I mean, amazing, right? Amazing. For me, he's probably my favorite comic book movie character in terms of, overall of all the different comic book movies. I love Downey's Iron Man. I think he's one of the absolute best comic book characters that's ever been brought to screen. And I was really happy that he was actually the one in this one, like I said, spoiler warning, to actually defeat Thanos. I thought that was so freaking cool, man, that he got to be the one to do it. And it also was a bit unpredictable because I think going into the movie, most people would have thought that Cap would be the one to beat him. And it felt like they kind of played that up because when Cap's got Mjolnir and the shield, which was also wicked awesome and everything too, right? And he's beating up on Thanos and everything. You're thinking like, okay, this might be it. He might be able to kind of beat him here, and then they have him actually kind of sort of losing away to him, and then the others all come through and get to see the final epic climactic battles. If we hadn't seen enough epic battles already after the first, Infinity War, and of course even going back to Civil War, which was really great too between the two, between Iron Man and Cap. It really, I think, was a really cool choice to kind of end off the Avengers and this part of the Marvel cinematic universe with the two of them moving on. So you have Robert Downey Jr. moving on now, on to other projects, other movies, other things he wants to do if he wants to. If he hasn't made enough money already to retire after playing Iron Man for 11 years, for all these years and all the different releases, man. But he deserves it because, he just did an amazing job in bringing that character to life. I was always a fan of Iron Man, but he was never my favorite Avenger. In the comic books, Captain America was always my favorite, but definitely in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, that's totally different. My favorite, definitely after seeing this movie, Iron Man, gotta be my favorite. Chris Evans' Cap, also okay for me, pretty good. I know a lot of people like him a lot as the character. For me, he's good too. It was great to see at the end as well too that he got to sort of live in his time. So that's another thing from the comics for Captain America. For a lot of the different, some of the best stuff from Cap. A lot of it focuses on time. A lot of the different story arcs for him. Man out of time. These kind of ideas where he'll be kind of outside of time because he's in his own type of time stream, because of course when we see him normally with the Avengers and with the others, this is so many years after World War II, and man out of time, he's in a different kind of time than what he probably should be. And it was really cool in this one that he got to kind of go back and live it through, and we get to see him as kind of an old Cap at the end here as he passes on the shield, which I did predict that. I did expect to see that, and I did think we would see him pass the shield on to Falcon, which will be good too to see a new version of Cap. They've done that in the comics as well too, where they've kind of moved on the shield onto Falcon, so that the original Steve Rogers will no longer be Captain America. It will be a mantle that's passed on to the next. And maybe that's in the future what we'll see a lot with the Avengers movies. And the next 20 movies, they've already said they're going to do 20 more more movies they have planned after this one. So it's the end of this section, but don't get it wrong. It's not like they're going to stop making Avengers movies. So that'll be cool to see things kind of change over too in the future for the future MCU movies in this next post Endgame phase that we're going to be going into here, because they had their time. Like Iron Man, 11 years. Downey playing Tony Stark, he had his time. And that is if they stay, if they don't find some way to kind of reverse this, right? Because that's the thing with Infinity Wars. Everybody's, it killed Spider-Man. They got that response out of people that, this half of the universe basically died. And so they got this response out of people, but I said pretty much right away, like they're going to bring it back. Like I said in my review, does anyone think Spider-Man's actually going to stay dead? No. So even with this one, it's kind of tricky. I tend to think, like, based on what we see here in terms of predictions, probably it's time for those two to move on. So they'll probably stay dead, but you just never know. It's comic book. It's a comic book inspired, universe. And of course, in, regular comics, it's like nobody ever really stays dead. If you look at Jean Grey from X-Men, she's died like how many times? I don't even know. You're bringing her back over and over again. So, that type of thing happens a lot. So we'll have to see for Iron Man and Cap if they actually do. Well, Cap's not really dead, but he's so old, he's retired basically. We likely won't. We might see him and it wouldn't be, because I'm not sure if they did CG for the scene or if they got a different actor, what have you. But basically, we're not going to see an in-shape, battle-ready Steve Rogers ever again, I wouldn't think, in the Marvel movies. And same with Iron Man. I guess it'll be War Machine after this. So that said, really happy with the two of them. And I was really happy with the way that they were spotlighted, because this is the end of that first section of the MCU. So it's not just the end of one movie, but it's the end of that entire kind of all the way up until now. It's a cap on the end of all of the movies we've seen up until now. So going forward, things will never be the same. Things are going to change. Thanos, of course, is defeated, like I said, at the hands of Iron Man, which I loved. And, it was kind of a sad ending in the movie, of course, because, we all, I think over the years, a lot of us have grown to really love these characters, really, view them as their own versions of those iconic comic book characters. And, we all have our favorites and everything, but to see Iron Man and Cap spotlighted at the very end was really cool. So I love that. I love the choices of character deaths in this one. I thought they were really good. Thanos, of course, being defeated and I guess disintegrating at the end or being killed off, probably permanently. I doubt we'll ever see Thanos come back again, because he got both of those movies and the intros in some of the prior movies too. So that was good stuff. So definitely the ending of the movie was satisfying. It was cool to see Spider-Man come back. There's some emotional scenes, with Tony and Spider-Man, and then afterwards too, of course, with the funeral and everything, and Cap growing old. Really, really good stuff. So earlier on in the movie, maybe we should go kind of closer to the beginning. Of course, they get kind of the idea to do. I like the time travel stuff, the quantum idea with the time travel. It was cool to get to see them kind of go back. One of my favorites is like when they go back to the first Avengers movie, when they go back to the 2012 movie. And we get to kind of see themselves, like Cap fights himself, which is kind of cool. And he kind of is figuring out as part of the way that he actually is facing kind of the older version gets a sense, I think, after a while, that he is facing himself and not Loki. It's cool to see the Hulk see his older version of himself, and I like how they've had the Hulk kind of change and evolve over time, right? To where now he's sort of like he sees himself just totally hulking out, like the total separation, 100%, and he's like trying to act like himself. It's just kind of funny to see him like reflect on himself and see where he was at that time, and when there was the total separation between him and the Hulk and Banner, and now they've met somewhere in the middle, so he's not quite as ferocious, but he's a lot smarter, obviously, and more controlled. So that's cool. And a lot of the characters have had good story arcs throughout the series. I still haven't seen Captain Marvel yet. I guess I probably should, but I thought in this movie that she was really good. She comes in and destroys a ship with one part and is going at Thanos a bit. Scarlet Witch also had a good part too, where she's going after him and everything, and that was pretty cool. And they all kind of had their own parts, right? You have, of course, Hawkeye, or Ronan, I guess, where he of course gets the gauntlet too. So they all kind of have their own parts where they all kind of stand out in their own sort of ways against Thanos and in their own tasks that they do. It feels like everybody is contributing here to defeating Thanos and as part of the movie. But it does feel, at least for me, like, of course, this is Iron Man's and Cap's sort of final hurrah. So it kind of feels like the two of them are sort of the top stars of the movie. And not that everybody else is supporting. Thor, obviously, Captain Marvel, Black Widow, and Hulk and everybody. It's hard to say that any of them are, like, supporting cast characters because really they're so iconic in their own right. But it does feel like in this version or in this movie for Endgame that Iron Man and Cap sort of pull ahead as your two main protagonist type leads for the movie, or at least the ones that get the most attention, and due to their fates at the end, rightfully so. So it does feel to me like a good ending. The title makes perfect sense after seeing it. Endgame. Like we said, it's not the final movie for Marvel, obviously, but it's the end of that first section that started back with Iron Man 1. So as far as the other stuff goes in the movie, Thanos, it looks pretty strong in this one. Not quite as strong as he did in Infinity War because he doesn't win this time, right? So he's got to lose as you have everybody basically after him. And, the battles are pretty good all the way throughout. I mean, it does get a bit, I do have to admit, it gets a little bit long because, of course, when you consider the first movie and then this one added on, they're almost 6 hours in the combination. And really, as I said in my non-spoiler review, it's like one big movie, right? I mean, it's two movies, but it's really like it's really one big movie. They just decided to kind of use it for two. The first one made box office was like $2 billion. So Endgame, I would think, will do probably just as well. So not a bad decision business-wise for them to do two movies. And they did feel epic. The battles were really cool all the way through, especially kind of the end battle in this one. Again, felt like a war, just like Infinity War. And everybody gets their kind of time to shine. And so, it's pretty good all in all, man. I was pretty happy with it. I do have to admit that over the years, with them doing so many movies, I think superhero fatigue really is a real thing. Like, when they do another 20 after this, I would tend to think after this one that a lot of people will start to kind of like, it's always fun to go to the theaters and see the movies, but considering, how the runtime of a lot of them, like just these two being, close to 6 hours, then you got all the other ones they've done. It's kind of amazing that the movies do still feel new and do still feel, exciting after they've just done that many, because eventually it's going to get to the point where, people have seen so many of them, it's going to be hard for them to come up with new stuff. But again, they've had the characters change, like Hulk, for example, or Thor in this one, where the one version of Thor where he's got like the pot belly and everything, which is funny. And again with the humor, right? There's some funny parts throughout the movie that get mixed in as per usual with Avengers. But the ending, certainly nothing funny about kind of the sad ending and the way things kind of turn out. But you had to have some character deaths in there. And I felt like, they kind of went with the one big one with Iron Man, and then sort of a soft one, a happy one for Cap, as he basically just gets to age things out. He doesn't die, but he ages it out to the point where it's time to pass on the shield. So brilliant stuff. I enjoyed it all the way through. I think that's pretty much all I really want to say for it. Feel like I should probably talk more about it because it's so epic, right, to see everything through. But there's a lot to it, obviously. I don't think it makes sense for us to go through every scene and kind of give our thoughts again on each one. But there's kind of the gist of how I felt about the movie. I gave it a 9.3 in my non-spoiler review. Same here with spoilers. Just really enjoyed it, and and looking at like it for how it affects the bigger picture than it just being a solo movie by itself. So many of these prior movies were like, okay, they're cool by themselves, but this one is really big because it is that finish for basically everything we've seen up to this point. And after this, the Marvel Cinematic Universe will likely not even be close to the same. It's going to be reinvented, which it has to be after that many movies, and considering they want to make so many more. We'll see how some of these are received now that you don't have those two of those big heavy hitters now, at least in the same fashion as you did prior. At least not the same, not Tony and not Steve. So let me know what you guys thought about the movie. If you got a chance to see it, How did you feel about it? How did you feel about the choices they made here to kind of, roll out this part, end it off, and do you feel like it was enough of kind of an ending for that section? Aside from that, I mean, that's really it. Looking forward to the future for Marvel movies. But yeah, man, I do kind of wish they're making so many. It almost feels like, throttle back a little, like just a little. Like we appreciate all the movies you're making, but you don't need to make that many ever. You don't need to make it after this like another 20, really. It's like they're gonna make us. Well, they're all good as long as they're making money. They're gonna keep making them, right? That's just the way it's gonna go. So at least they're really good, right? At least they're that good. But yeah, eventually people got to get burned out on them, I think. As big of a Marvel fan as I am, or some of you guys are, we'll see how we feel after the next 20. If we're still, wanting to go to theaters every spring or summer to see the new ones that they've got. Let me know what you guys think. That's it for the review. If you liked it, thumb it up, share, favorite it, subscribe to the bottom left if you're new. It's Trev, and I'm saying peace. I'll see you guys back again soon.